episode for higher GC News. Bima Ubibia Aqua had the latest hot and qua Aremeyaw Bromo. Erunti Sonya subscribe to channel idea, Bomodia say over subscribe. The bayan say over click a year subscribe material. Now wabele notification. We answer video for be upload when the first person once ebeka a video. I feel we are now like video. Give us a thumbs up, now fee. Share my wafufro so now when you be here now and somewhere koso ewo Ghana me mohano afi ye share a year somewhere abeto yepono so yiti a year sam komu ya ba betu ya sa report mama yiti.
The petition seeking the removal of the Chief Justice, Lady Chief Justice Gertrude Torkonoo, is one that keeps taking different dimensions, and we know that since the matter took off, the legal challenges that have been taking place have largely been initiated by individuals who are exercising their constitutional rights under Ghana's constitution to seek various forms of redress from the courts, raising constitutional matters. And we know that last week, for the first time, the Chief Justice on her own, through her lawyers, took a legal action, raising questions about two members of the committee that is probing her, saying that, well, they should stay off the committee. Now there's an update to that. She's filed a supplementary affidavit, and the lawyers explained that she is simply providing additional facts to the court in support of her application for injunction. And in that document that she has filed, very interesting revelations that we are learning for the very first time, and also what the CJ makes of the process against her. For the first time, she's directly commented on how she feels about it. In fact, she says that there's a ploy in place to remove her from office. And I just want to read that part to you before I bring you the other details. She says that the persistent violations of my constitutional rights show that the whole proceedings initiated against me are a mockery of justice and a ruse to unjustifiably remove me from office as Chief Justice. That is how she concludes the affidavit in which she has signed, and she introduces herself as I, Justice Gertrude Araba Esaba Saki Torkonoo, Chief Justice, make oath and say as follows. So those are her words, her own words, and she concludes by saying that she's been unjustifiably removed from office. And that is the first time she's commenting directly on the matters related to the petitions against her. So what has triggered her or occasioned her decision to comment in this manner? And we said that, well, she had filed an application for injunction. Now she says after filing the application for injunction, they went over to the committee for the hearing, and her lawyers brought to the attention of the committee the fact of the pendency of the injunction application, and the committee said that, well, they were not aware of that fact, and so they wanted copies of it. And she says that her lawyers made copies available. The matter was adjourned. They came the following day, and on that day the committee indicates that they intend to proceed with the hearing, and she takes issues with that. She says that she finds it to be quite problematic. Now beyond that, she now proceeds to list series of events that she believes amounts to abuse of her constitutional rights. So first, she raises concerns about where the hearing is taking place. She says it's taking place at a secured security installation. We are told it's close to the Osu Castle. She says in times past, such 146 proceedings takes place at judicial facilities. And when she gets to that facility, she says her mobile phone, her laptops are taken from her. That of her lawyers are also taken from them. And she says, in terms of the petitioners, their lawyers are allowed to keep their laptops and mobile phones. Beyond that also, she says that her family, spouse, and children are not allowed into the hearing room to observe proceedings. And I mean, one could easily answer the guess that it's an in-camera proceeding that is taking place, but she expresses reservations about that as well. And so she makes the point that also at the very first hearing of the committee, the very first hearing that took place, when she was served with a hearing notice through her lawyers, she didn't show up on the first day. She says when her lawyers showed up on the first day, they indicated to the committee that, I mean, they are appearing on her behalf, and the committee said that, well, since the Chief Justice herself was not around, they were not going to recognize the lawyers. And so she said the committee then proceeded to fix the days for hearing without recourse to her lawyers' participation in that process. And she puts all this together to say that she's been subjected to a mental torture. Her rights are being abused. And she believes that these additional facts should form the basis for the Supreme Court to injunct the committee from proceeding with its proceedings. So that is the update, and it was important to put all of this in context so that we know where we are in terms of this unfolding story. And I want to bring my guest in at this point in time, and I want to start with Hamza first. And I mean, the first time we are hearing from her directly. In fact, even though we had seen the injunction process, many had not seen the affidavits, and we've now seen the supplementary affidavits. I mean, it's one would say that, I mean, these are serious matters coming from the Chief Justice, or you hold a different view on that?
Absolutely not. Good morning to our cherished viewers out there, and of course, my brother in the studio and Dr. Koba. You see, so much is happening in this country, Akabele, especially after the swearing-in ceremony of His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama. We have choked inspiring progress as far as our democracy is concerned. If for nothing at all, we succeeded through that singular act in bringing an end to a regime that suffocated the entire republic for 8 good years. Journalists in this country suddenly started losing their voices, and most of them, at a point in time, had to be flown out of the country. Sometimes it is important for us to remind ourselves of the journey that we have embarked upon so far, especially under the 4th Republican Constitution and in recent times. Today, that aura of freedom of speech is back. Today, we are at liberty to question government decisions and go home to bed knowing that nobody's going to haunt us. Today, despite the fact that there are still challenges with our judiciary, there seems to be some semblance of confidence that if you wake up, either you belong to the New Patriotic Party or the National Democratic Congress, and you are going to court, you are somehow assured some semblance of justice. That is encouraging. On the economic front, we are dealing with the president and a team that has so far shown commitment to our monetary and fiscal policy measures aimed at reviving this economy. Once again, even the cost of imports, in terms of import bills that many of our traders pay, has suddenly started coming down. These are positive stories. Akabele, in the midst of all that, we have had a government that has launched what we call the National Apprenticeship Program. In less than 6 months, the 1 million coders program to equally empower our youth with digital skills. We have the Ejumawura program. The same government, in less than 6 months, has succeeded in setting out and making available the 50 million Ghana cedis that it promised as seed capital for the establishment of the Women Development Bank, intended to financially position the women of this country. These are things happening in a matter of 6 months. Nobody around this table can downplay the significant inroads of this government as far as the economy is concerned and the impact it would have on the average Ghanaian out there. These are the concerns of the ordinary Ghanaian. These are what people want to talk about. When it comes to the conduct or concerns of the Chief Justice, that is why the law courts are there. Government has acted in line with the constitutional dictate. The government is not pausing because Chief Justice suspended Torkonoo is before a commission of inquiry. government is going ahead with its business. And it is important for us to let Madam Torkonoo understand that the survival of the country is not hinged on her position as Chief Justice or otherwise. It is not hinged on that. So like she's indicated, she has done. Let us allow the law processes, law courts to take its due course.
But Hamza, at all points, government has always maintained that, they are acting within the confines.
But that is the point I'm making. That's why I've told you that I have given you the background.
Yeah,
I am struggling to appreciate where, in the last 6 months, this government has acted outside the laws of our country. Or outside the legitimate expectations of the Ghanaian people.
How do you process her point? She makes the point that, as far as she's concerned, judicial independence is under assault. You see, that they have to protect the security of tenure of the Chief Justice.
That's why I made the point that the survival of our democracy and whether indeed our judiciary is working or not is not hinged on her remaining Chief Justice or otherwise.
Okay.
I made that point. Our constitutional dictates are clear. Under Article 146 of the Constitution, there's a process that needs to be activated if petitions are filed. Ghanaians took advantage of that particular provision. They have filed petitions to His Excellency the President. The President has acted in line with that particular process and forwarded same to the Council of State. The Council has proceeded to establish a committee in conjunction with the President to deal with those matters. The Presidency is concerned about dealing with many other teething challenges of our society. So we are not, I don't see where the interference is coming from. And you just read it. Look at the reasons that she's abusing. I can't play. The Constitution says in-camera proceedings.
Hamza, don't you have a problem?
I'll get
don't you have a problem when you, for instance, read, and in the context of, there are those who are making a point that think of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, think of the Right Honorable Aban Gbabin, and think of Her Ladyship, the Chief Justice, and think of the fact that she goes to a room where she's going for a hearing. She says she was searched. They took away her mobile phone, her telephone, and laptops, even though the counsel for the petitioners had access to their phones.
You see, but that is the point I am making. That's the point I am making. Are the petitioners of the lawyers of the petitioners facing the committee? The committee has been instituted because of somebody. Is that not the case? And if you have concerns, has she raised those concerns with the chairman of the committee? These are questions we should be interested in asking. In any case, the proceedings are supposed to be in camera. Why would they allow you to go in there with your camera or your mobile phones? For what? To record what? They cannot guarantee that you will not record it. Secondly, if the proceedings are supposed to be in camera, why do you want to go there with your wife and children? And so if there is anybody whose conduct questions the legitimacy and the confidence Ghanaians must have in the judiciary, indeed, it is her conduct. Because you are, for goodness sake, you occupy an important position as Chief Justice. And you ought to know the meaning of in-camera proceedings. So if you begin to make statements to the effect that you were denied, your children were denied entry into in-camera proceedings, then legitimately people can begin to question the sort of judgments that were handed down from the apex courts of our land, especially when you were presiding. Why would you want to go into in-camera proceedings with your husband and wife, your children? Who does that, Akabli? And you want us to waste time discussing this issue? That is clearly effusions of a woman probably who is struggling to find the grounds to defend herself. The contents of the petitions are there. Let us focus on the contents. Let her go through the process and clear herself. If at the end of the day she's cleared, I am pretty much convinced that His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama would not have any difficulty or whatsoever reinstating her. But until that is done, we will not allow her to take us on an emotional roller coaster.
I mean,
simply to win sympathy, to subvert this constitutional process. That will not be entertained in this country.
I mean,
even if His Excellency President Mahama is found wanting, as far as the laws of this country is concerned, we would make sure that he's taken through the laws of the country. Let alone.
Do you hold the same position on another fact that she pleads? And as a lawyer yourself, I mean, when you go to court, there are instances that your client is not present in court. You go there, you do the case, but she says, well, she wasn't present. The panel said that they are not going to recognize her lawyer. The panel proceeds to fix hearing dates without recourse to her lawyer who was present.
Of course, the panel is clothed with the legal authority to do so. Even if you go to court, our normal courts, to represent somebody who is not a plaintiff or a defender who is not in court, the judge can decide based on what knowledge is available to him at that material moment to say that he's not going to recognize you, because there's no basis to indicate, apart from what you would have filed, that you are acting on behalf of that person. Anybody at all can be an imposter. So the point is, she should pay attention to the contents of the petition and spare us that emotional roller coaster. I think that for her and her legal team, it is a political football. So they want to take the nation away from the constitutional requirements and box us in the political fault to engage in a political banter. But I can assure them that as far as this government is concerned, we will resist that temptation, because our fidelity to the 1992 Constitution is unmatched.
Okay.
So we would continue to respect it. His Excellency President Mahama and his government will continue to focus on delivering on the many campaign promises that they made to the good people of this country. If at any point in time his role is required after the committee's work is done, I am convinced that His Excellency would find time again to discharge his constitutional obligations regards to the work of that particular committee. But Akable, until that is done, we must send a strong signal to the attorneys and the Chief Justice for that matter that this country will not accept their invitation to go on that political trajectory or emotional roller coaster seeking to win sympathy outside the committee's work or the commission's work.
Okay.
They must concentrate on what is happening there.
Okay.
And take charge of the processes to register their concerns. Sitting at the Flagstaff House, what's the name? Old Parliament Castle, is also one of the reasons she enumerated.
Yeah.
Not so?
Yes. In fact, she says that.
Is that the first committee to have sat there?
She says the committees, the armed forces committees in the past always took place in judicial.
You see, that has always been my problem. That has
made to go to secured security installation for the hearing to take place.
I think that in her mind, everybody is supposed to act in line with what she believes to be the right thing. You remember the prima facie establishment? When she demanded that the letter should have been given to her first before given to the committee, the Council of State. You remember? Because that was the operative philosophy in her mind. But the courts proved otherwise. Today, she feels that she has the right to determine to the good people of this country where committees should sit. Is it stated in the Constitution 1992 where that particular committee that is set up by the President and in conjunction with Council of State, where they should sit? Is the venue provided? So where is that coming from? Is the castle, old castle, is that not a state facility? Doesn't it belong to the state? The Supreme Court buildings, are they not part of the state assets? So the state, depending on availability, can decide to allocate any state asset for such purposes. Madam Torkonoo cannot dictate to this republic or the President of the Republic where such hearings should be conducted. The Emulsion Commission on the West Wagon was held at that same premises. under Nana than Akufo Addo. What was wrong with it? It's a state facility. It's a state. It's something you cannot take away from the state. Okay. In any case, she's talking about security. The security within that zone, in a way, is even relaxed these days because the presidency is no more situated there.
Okay.
And there are no obstructions.
Okay.
An ideal place for such hearings. No interference. Drive towards that side, the Castle Drive. Serene for such an engagement.
Okay.
So what's she afraid of?
Okay.
Look, Akable, let us focus on the bread and butter issues. Let us call for reduction in prices in line with the appreciation of the Ghanaian cedi.
Okay.
Let us charge this government to live up to its promise of creating jobs for many of our youth out there. Let us hold this government to tax when it promised that it was going to make agriculture attractive to our people. Let us hold the government to tax to deliver these promises. For me, that should be the focus of our discussion this morning. But not sorry.
Okay.
No matter how many noises are made, the law is the law. No matter how many noises are made, the law is the law.
Very senior lawyer yourself. I mean, I don't know how you process hearing a Chief Justice, for instance, say that she says there's been a desecration of her basic constitutional rights to a fair trial, violation of my dignity, and subjection to inhumane and degrading treatment of a kind not meted out to even accuse persons on trial for treason and other offenses against the state. I mean, so far, we've all been monitoring the petition and how things have been going. Are you able to situate her assessment of how things are panning out in relation to what you've seen happening so far?
Well, good morning again. From where I sit, what goes through my mind is whether what is happening now in her case is any different from what happened when the electoral commissioner was removed, when Charlotte Osei went through the process. A process that at that time, I think she was in charge of that process because the petition is sent to the Chief Justice.
She wasn't Chief Justice at that time.
Well,
no, she wasn't.
But where the
office of the Chief Justice, yes,
office of the Chief Justice, So was it any different? Has the process been any different? The procedure been any different when other justices have been removed? Is it really true that judicial independence is under attack? Did the EC collapse when the electoral commissioner was removed? Did Shraj collapse when the Shraj commissioner was removed in the past? From the information available to me, I wonder, is she just asking for special treatment? But in this country, we are all supposed to be equal before the law, the Chief Justice included. Is it really the case that she's been targeted? I think so far, my reading of what has been going on is that the president has acted in accordance with the constitutional requirement when it comes to the removal of a petition to remove the Chief Justice. I think most of us, in my opinion, believe that the president has remained quite loyal in terms of the constitutional requirements. Now, another thing that goes through my mind is whether the Chief Justice is coming to all this with clean hands. You know, I was very disturbed about the leakage of the petition. You know, all reasonable fingers point at her for the leakage of the petition. So she doesn't have clean hands, you know, in terms of telling us that.
I mean, Doc, those are, we can't confirm that. I mean, there was a statement from the presidency that suggested that, but we can't point that as a matter of fact. And what we know for a fact is she has requested that she wants the process to be opened to the public. She wants it made available to the public. I mean, I think we can just stay within that as a matter of fact.
Well, but brother, you want it to be made public. The Constitution prescribes otherwise. The question is this: how did the petition get leaked? Who leaked the petition? I think it's a fair question to ask. You know, especially when you're talking about the judiciary being under attack. You know, this petition is against the person of the Chief Justice. It is not against the judiciary.
I mean, but Doc, I mean, you made a point earlier about equality and everyone being equal. But I mean, you, our law lecturers, what you tell us is that you treat Justice Ateba says you treat equals equally. When the people are unequal, you don't treat them equally. I mean, so if someone like the Chief Justice, for instance, is going for a hearing and she says she's being searched, her phones have been taken from her laptop. I mean, those are matters that one would say that, well, that's a bit some way.
I don't know about you, but there are various places that I have been to where they take my phone. And I'm not allowed to go in with my laptop. I'm not allowed to go in with my assistant. It's you know, it's quite normal. And remember that she is the one against whom the petition has been leveled. She is the person on the spot. And it's not her lawyers, it's her.
Yeah.
Why is she asking us to treat her any differently than any other citizen who has to go through a process that is mandated by the Constitution?
Okay. I mean, Doc, I don't know what you make of this other point that she makes. It says the committee, they have decided that the petitioners will not be giving evidence on their own, but they will be calling other witnesses to come and give evidence. And she finds that also to be problematic. She thinks that once the petitioners have brought forward the petition, like any complaint, she wants the opportunity to confront her accusers directly. And already I've seen those who are drawing parallels with what's happened in the Supreme Court in the election petition when the petitioners had wanted a chance to engage the EC chairperson. Already those people are drawing parallels, but I don't know how you process the concern she raises. Well,
all I can say is that there is a committee established by law. They make their rules. Any lawyer will tell you, they are in charge of their procedures, and if that is the decision that they've made, so be it. In any case, she is free to challenge what the committee says or does not say or do or does not do in court. You know, and I'm not faulting her for raising all those issues. She is in a position to defend herself, and it's legitimate for her to raise all those matters, you know. But at the end of the day, the committee makes its own rules.
Okay. Let me come to you, Nana, now. And Nana, I mean, I found this affidavit interesting because it gave us a sense of how her leadership is processing all that is happening around her, and her assessment and conclusion is that there is a ruse to unjustifiably remove her from office, and she says judicial independence is under assault. Let me ask you directly, do you agree with that?
We wouldn't be seated here if indeed the judiciary and the constitution is under attack. I don't think we would be seated here today. And sometimes that is why most of the lawyers don't like me as a friend. They speak too much English and want to scare us. And the English, when you have broken it down into a better understanding, you would come to agree with me with that what I always say. They say nothing. My brother, let us be honest. The issues that were raised. One, she says the basic constitutional rights to fair trial. I'm not a lawyer. You are lawyers. But that's why I say, 3 lawyers. I'm the only roadside person.
There are 2 of us, me and you. Go ahead.
Basic constitutional rights to fair trial. Ghanaians would attest. Has she been subject to an unfair trial? Has she been subjected to an unfair trial? The procedures to her removal stipulated clearly, unambiguous, in Article 1466, where those procedures followed. I hear some of the senior lawyers talk a lot, and the basic question I have asked is, are they able to quote one provision or authority to back the fact that the Chief Justice or the President has gone against Article 146? No, I am not a lawyer. And anytime you lawyers have spoken, you say that there should be an authority backing what you are saying. So if the President has not violated any provision in the Constitution, I do not see where she would want to come and tell us that her basic constitutional rights to fair trial has been violated. Number 2, that violation of a human dignity. And so when I was seated here, I was trying to understand what human dignity is. I did a Catholic university, and so there is a whole program, a course we did under human dignity. And I was trying to understand, is there a different definition of human dignity in law that we do not know? When you are talking about human dignity, that is when you have been humiliated. That is when your self-worth has been touched, and that you actually, there are examples. We're talking about somebody who has been tortured, somebody who has gone through some social exclusion, some slavery. That is what we are talking about. I don't know who has taken her through that level of torture. Unless otherwise, there are different definitions to it. When, to an extent that you even requested for a petition, a copy of the petition, one per the procedures, it was not even time for you to have been given a copy. And you want us to believe that you have been tortured. Nobody has been to her office to drag her out. I do not think anybody has done anything beyond just going through the procedures that has been stipulated in the Constitution. She talks about inhuman and degrading treatment. Ghana here, inhuman and degrading treatment, according to her, how? A mockery of justice. I stated it before, that she and her lawyers, their actions and inactions is an embarrassment to our constitution. What they are doing is rather what is a mockery of justice. As the head of our judiciary, you would want to frustrate the processes that are constitutionally stated. Was it the terms of reference of the committee to have an in-camera hearing? No. It is stated in the Constitution, clearly. Unless otherwise some of us do not understand and are not able to read. Because if you look at the procedures in 146, because I'm not a lawyer, I sometimes try to work with the Constitution. The procedures are there. I think that it is clear.
1468.
8. And then I'm all proceedings under this article shall be held in camera. And only a chrono type or the italics na camera. It means that this one, there's nothing you can do about it. So, damn it, that's not know that this is constitutional. You want to play technicalities with Ghanaians? Was it John Dramani Mahama that put this in there? I mean, where are we? What do they want to gain? I've said that if she and her lawyer want us to have a review of Article 146, there is a procedure to that effect. If you want there to be an amendment of this, there is a procedure to that effect. Let us go through that channel. But not to ride behind this case to frustrate Ghanaians. This is a frustration of Ghanaians. And you see, we kind of have given so much of room to her, and it is like, okay, she wants to find a way to court some public sympathy, but nobody has done anything to her. Others have gone through the procedure. You should go through that procedure. Now, do they now understand what proceedings and procedures are? When Ghanaians took LGBTQ Parliament, and it was a bill taken to the office of the president, that the president should assent to it and it becomes a law. And an aspect of it was taken to the Supreme Court. We ordinary Ghanaians knew for a fact that the Supreme Court does not interpret bills. Unless otherwise we were wrong. What they interpret are laws. And it was a bill, it wasn't a law. And we knew the end judgment that would come. We were crying, Madam, bring the judgment out, let the president send a signature onto the bill. After elections, he came to tell us that it is a bill and not a law, and for that matter, Supreme Court cannot interpret it. Did we not know this? No. We will go through the procedures. I seated here, I have not seen any form of frustration. And what we are talking about, when she's talking about the venue, as Hamza said, the venue is not stated in the Constitution. It is a committee, whether a commission or a committee, whichever building that is available, that would pass basic security test, is what will be given for them to use.
Okay.
In any case, so you have been a senior lawyer for a long time. Are the courts in Ghana not security installations? What is a security installation? Have you actually looked at the definition of a security installation?
I mean, at least we know that even for the courts, when you are going over, you are screened at the entrance, at the main entrance.
All this English, plenty English. When I am coming to an office, would I not be screened? Can anybody at all wake up from the house and come to the Supreme Court and say that he or she is walking to the office of the Chief Justice? Is that not a security installation?
Okay.
There are levels of security installations. Of course, I agree. But you do not just expect us to have the hearing of this high-profile case or petition in any building at all.
Okay.
If today the committee or the president had recommended, or the chairman of the committee had recommended that they should go and use one of the hotels, the conference rooms in any of the hotels, her lawyers would come on Facebook to come and write that the hotel they are going, the conference room they are using, belongs to the president's sister's husband's wife. We are in Ghana here. Unless we are... Okay. Do you not attest to the fact that on many occasions there have been issues that have gone on, that venues have become a subject of contention?
Okay.
And so if there is a government property which has all the security, that passes all the security tests, and your safety is assured, and you tell us that it is a security installation, and for that matter, we should have used another venue. In any case, I've had the benefit of visiting some few courts. When there is a pre-trial conference, what basically we have seen is that you go into the chamber of the
judge.
The judge. You know, both the defendant, they go to try to sit. There are other cases that you need to go into chamber before it comes into the public space, the open court. Now, what is the difference between in-camera and open court? There is a reason why the Constitution stated that it should be in camera. There are reasons why other cases are open court. There are reasons cases go on pre-trial. There are reasons why cases go straight up for open court proceedings. And so, one is because of it being less intrusive. And when they want to reduce public for whatever reason. And so if there has been a recommendation stated in the Constitution that this should be in camera, and you expect the chairman of the committee to allow beyond you and your legal team other selected members of your family, you would get to a point where somebody like me who comes from dominance in a royal beyond my wife and my children, my chiefs would want to follow me.
Okay.
When you were vetting these ministers and the whole place became a cinema room and more like a football stadium, we Ghanaians said that, listen, you are going in there with too many people.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, if we are able to recommend that there should be limitations in some of these high-profile public stuff that happens, and this one, by divine grace, it is stated as in camera, why would we have to allow you to come with your chiefs and your family members?
Okay.
It's not the best.
Okay.
No matter how many noises are made, the law is the law. No matter how many noises are made, the law is the law. No matter how many noises are made, the law is the law. No matter how many noises are made, the law is the law.
Yo, it is for winning a reporter abato yepono make out say so when you subscribe to channel idea bomodi say over subscribe. Now while like video no give us a thumbs up na fi share ma wo foforo so na when you be here na wo hu and somewhere ekoso e wo Ghana memo hanom. Also betimi otchere wadwen afa eye somewhere nyina ho e wo comment box no mo beti minka bi in my next video.
Thanks for watching. Like and share the video. You can also drop your comment. Please don't forget to subscribe. Click on the bell to turn on the notification.